Well, hey there, happy Tuesday, friends and neighbors, and welcome to yet another Ball Publishing webinar. I am Chris Beatties, editor of GrowerTalks, Green Profit, and the e-newsletter Acres Online, and I'm going to be your host for the next hour or so for this special interactive interview-style webinar featuring the three finalists for the 18th GrowerTalks Young Grower Award. Today we're going to be talking about how they are handling 2022, which is a very strange year so far, to say the least. How are they planning for 2023? And their views and opinions on a wide range of topics from the supply chain, input costs, labor, raising prices, finding employees, especially sharp, hardworking, enthusiastic employees just like them. Now, I was once a young grower, but I'm just an old question asker now. So let's meet our three Young Grower Award finalists for 2022. We're going to start out with he's 31 years old. This sounds like the dating game all of a sudden. He's 31 years old. He is the nursery manager at Midwest Groundcovers in St. Charles, Illinois. He is Mr. Mike Krueger. Hey, Mike, how are you?
Good, Chris. Thank you for having me on. Very humbled to be nominated for this.
Our pleasure. You earned it, my friend. Now, Mike, where are you broadcasting from? And it's not Midwest Groundcovers, St. Charles, Illinois, is it?
No, I am at La Quinta, just outside of Minneapolis right now, up at the network grower meeting for Bailey.
So you are out working, networking,
working.
hobnobbing. Bailey is a supplier for you guys. You grow Bailey products.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
There you go.
Seeing the new plants and getting to see people that we haven't seen since the pandemic. So it's been good.
How long have you been in the industry, and how long have you been with Midwest?
So I've been with Midwest for 6 years now. Great 6 years. Before that, I was working for the University of Illinois at a hort research center. So really only 8 years, kind of just right out of college. So.
All right, we'll maybe find out more about how you discovered the business later on. Next up, she is 30, and she is the propagation manager at J. Berry Nursery down in Grand Saline, Texas. She's Erika Ramos. Come on in, Erika.
Hi, Chris. Thanks for having
Erika,
me.
how are you? Did I pronounce that right? Grand Saline? Saline?
Grand Saline.
Grand Saline. Erika Ramos, propagation manager at J. Berry. That's a bit of responsibility. They propagate a lot of really well-respected crepe myrtles and hibiscus, and what other things are you doing down there for Mr. Berry?
Well, just recently, I got the head grower position also. So I'm trying juggling both at the same time right now. And so that's the big step for me right now, and trying to adjust into that position as well.
And will you continue doing propagation, or do you have a young trainee?
I am juggling both right now.
No problem. You're young, you're energetic. That's awesome. How long have you been with J. Berry? And same question, when did you get into the business?
I've been with J. Berry since, I think, was it July 2019? So we're coming on 3 years, and that was my introduction into the industry also.
Seriously? That was your first job, horticulture degree?
Plant and soil science with row crop was really my.
Well, if you can grow corn and soybeans, you can grow crepe myrtles and hibiscus. No big deal. Well done, you. All right. Well, last but hardly least, he is the young man of our group, 23 years old, vice president of Henning's Farm and Greenhouses in DeMotte, Indiana. He is Quinten Henning. Same last name as the business. How coincidental. Hey, Quinten.
How you guys doing?
Oh, and we got a little internet freeze up there.
Thanks for having me on today.
There he is. All right, good. And you are outside at the greenhouse. You said right between the production area and the retail area, right?
Yep.
All right, some beautiful product hanging back there. On a scale of 1 to 10, how has your spring been down there?
Yep, that's correct. Yep.
Quinten, on a scale of 1 to 10, how has your spring been?
It's been great. I would have to give it a 10. It was very difficult with the supply chain. There was a lot of things that we had our orders in for that we've been ordering for years, and all of a sudden, hey, we can't get that for you. So that was the most difficult part about the spring. Another thing that was very difficult, post COVID, there's been a lot of attendance issues with the employees. It's a lot more acceptable for people just to, hey, I can't come into work today. So that was a very big challenge, but the sales were strong. We did very well early spring, Mother's Day. We cut back a little bit at the very end for the very late season stuff. But it was very similar to last year, and very good year this year.
Glad to hear. Well, Quinten just gave us the whole hour's worth of talk right there. Good stuff. All right. And Quinten, I'm not going to ask how long you've been in the business, because you were born into the business.
Yep. Actually, this house right behind me here was the house that I was born in, right on the farm. And so I was born actually in November 5th, 1998. And the greenhouse that I'm looking at was built right around Thanksgiving of 98. And they poured concrete about 2 weeks after I was born. And my dad brought me out here in the freezing cold and put my little baby footprints in the concrete right when you walk in the door. So, I kind of have a connection with that greenhouse a little bit.
Name an industry other than horticulture that does that sort of thing. So I'm sure they're out there, but that's a great story. And there's a way to solve your labor issues, everybody. Just give birth to them. All right.
Yeah.
And that's just a little warm up. Let me do a little bit of quick housekeeping first up here. Because, first thing I want to do is thank our sponsors of not necessarily this webinar, although, yeah, they're sponsoring everything. It's the sponsors of the Young Grower Award, Ball Horticultural Company. Thank you very much. And for full disclosure, the parent company of Ball Publishing, they're right out there somewhere, the Ball folks. And American Hort, who is a big and important part of this award, and has been really since the beginning, because these folks are going to find out which one of them is the Young Grower Award winner at American Hort next month. So that's pretty exciting. Now, folks always want to ask questions. We hope that all of you will have questions for these young folks. And the reason we're doing this, because it's a great opportunity to pick the brain of three really bright, sharp, interesting people. So type them into that Q&A area, and we'll get to them as we go along. If it's a topic that I know we're going to get to later on, because I've got a list of bullet points, I'll just say, hey, we're going to get to that one later on, or stick around. We will get to all of them if we possibly can. We'll either get to them as we go or at the end. And then if you have to leave for some reason, but you don't want to miss all the excitement, it's archived. It will be archived when it's over with. GrowerTalks.com/webinars, the same place that you signed up. So that makes that pretty easy, and that's really all I have right there as far as housekeeping. So I want to dive right into it now. I've got my hot little questions here, and what I want to know, and Quinten, you already kind of did it. So Erika, let's go to you. How would you sum up spring 2022 in one word at J. Berry Nursery?
In one word, probably just a little bit overwhelming. There's a lot going on. It's a good overwhelming, definitely. Our sales have been great this season. We were up 21% this spring. So that was really good.
Wow.
So I would rate it probably a 9. I
9
think
out
we
of
can
10,
always
all right.
do better. But it was great overall.
All right. Mike, how about you at Midwest? One word to describe your spring.
Different. I would say, since every season I've been at Midwest, it's been different challenges. And so as each season comes on, there's new things to overcome or new situations to deal with. But I would say it's been different. And it's been, for us at Midwest, it's actually been a little slower with, we had a cool, wet spring. So the majority of our customers are landscape contractors, and they weren't able to get out like they normally do. And seemed to rain every weekend going up to Mother's Day. So the garden centers seemed a little not as much traffic flow. So,
now, will your landscape customers still get out and buy even in July or August because they've got the jobs to do? And so once it dries out and warms up, they're going to make that sale where a consumer may not.
Yeah. So, and that's the hope. And we're starting to see that in June now. So it's a little drier, nicer warm weather. It seems like they're getting back caught up with the jobs that they couldn't quite get to. So, so it's not doom and gloom, but it was slower for us.
It was a tough one here in Chicagoland, no doubt about it. And also, I could throw a rock from my backyard and land it if I've got a really good arm, which I don't. But I could land it at Midwest's St. Charles location over there. So, and Quinten, I didn't ask you about the one-word description for your 2022 spring.
I was very happy. I think it was excellent.
Excellent.
Yep.
You can't get any better than that. Plus, you rated it as a 10. Now, the next thing is, though, you've got this behind you. So, how do you take, Quinten? How do you take what you experienced this spring and apply it moving forward? What have you learned this spring that you're going to use summer and fall, and then even for your long-range planning for 2023?
So the craziest thing that we had to deal with was the price increase. So every time we turn around, we're, oh, hey, this is higher than what I thought. I can't give you a quote because we'll tell you what the price is on your supplies when it's shipped. You know, when you get it, I'll tell you what the price is. So how do you give your customers a price 6-7 months out in advance when you're wanting those orders? So what we had to do was we went, hey, we got to go shoot from the hip, and we got to go 10% across the board and round to the nicest number, you know. So sometimes it was 9%, sometimes it was 12%. And we're a little nervous that wasn't enough. So the hardest part was knowing what our increase would be. So now that we had a season with that 10% increase, we need to really rerun those numbers and fine tune that, see if we can cut back a little bit, be a little more affordable. You know, we're still getting price increases where it's, you know, hey, we'll let you know what the price, we can't give you a quote 6 months out, but we'll let you know what the price is. Then the other big thing moving into next fall is we've seen it slow down a tad bit at the end. So we want to get in touch with all of our customers and say, hey, are you looking at doing the same number of mums this fall as last year? That's what we planned on. If you don't think you're going to use them, let us know right now so we have the opportunity to sell them still. So we need to go and talk to all of our clients and firm up their orders now that we're getting closer. And then
is that not something you would normally do? Is that not something you would normally do? Is sort of touch base?
We definitely do that. We definitely do that. We get a lot of pre-orders in, so we've already touched base with a lot of our clients, but we have a lot of really old clients that we've just been doing the same business with every year, and we plan our crop based off their order, and we try to tell them like, hey, let us know ahead of time if your order is going to change. That way we can plan for it. Otherwise, we're just going to plan on the same thing. And then the other thing that I was getting ready to say, going further ahead, is we need to be further ahead on ordering. We used to order our geraniums in November all the time, October. You know, maybe if we were got a wild hair, we ordered some geraniums in September for next spring. Well, we had to have our geranium order in already, and that was in April, you know. So this ordering is a lot different than it's used to be, and we really got to try to stay ahead on that for the next couple of years. I just got an email yesterday that some of our mum pots are 680 days out. So they're saying, hey, we already put your order in for next year. What about the year after that? You want to put your order in now so that you can be guaranteed to have that? So it's just a crazy thing we're trying to keep up with. And that's what we're really trying to plan for and gear for.
I guess 680 days sounds better than like a year and 10 months. Maybe they think that'll make you feel better. Mike, how about you? What did you learn this spring at Midwest that you're going to apply?
You know, the big thing I learned was I held back on some of the production work, to be honest with you, just because of how slow things were moving or progressing with the spring and the plants. So whether it was pruning or spacing, very, very early on. So I think going forward, I've got to remind myself that, okay, regardless of what the temperatures are or what how much snow is on the ground, we got to move forward with, again, whether it's the pruning, spacing, potting, just to stay ahead of the curve. And I think for next season, planning out some of the, where we ran into some of these hiccups is how can we stage things so that they're prepared and ready for a smoother transition into the spring, and not so much the flying by the seat of your pants kind of thing. So keeping good notes.
I think any grower or nursery manager will agree with that one. Erika, how about you? What'd you learn this spring that you'll be applying through the summer, fall, and into 2023?
I think the biggest thing for me right now would be probably labor. And it's really that question of when it becomes too much or when you have too little, and learning that balance in between. So for me, going into this fall and next year is planning out that labor better, and scheduling out what we need and having them here when we need people, instead of having people here or having a surplus of people. We'll have the right amount at the right time. And that is the plan right now for in the spring and probably into next fall. Just having that schedule and basically for all of our departments, and having the labor needs and those requirements in place so that we know how to plan for that in the future.
Yeah. Does that get more complicated for you now that you're head grower and not just propagation manager?
A little bit. So the way we did it is it's two of us. So we divided our nursery in two. And so now we have two people as the head grower position doing those two areas. So we recently acquired another 2 facilities. So now we're running 3 facilities, and we have another head grower in one of the other ones. But we are just trying to figure out, okay, how can we do this better with these other 2 facilities and using the resources we have, and not overdoing it. But I'm not going to say it's difficult. It's hard, but it's doable.
You seem to embrace the challenge.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, that's cool. That's what it's all about. And we got some questions coming in that mention labor, but I'm going to save labor a little bit further down. So don't worry. Scott and also Janine had an interesting question. We're going to get to it. Don't worry. I see you in there. This summer, okay, we got. Is spring done for you, Mike? Are you relaxing now, or are you still shipping a lot of product because of that late start?
We're still moving stuff because of that late start. So we're not quite to the smooth rolling part of summer yet. So
you can't
which is
breathe
good.
yet.
Which is good. So yeah, we're still potting along. We're still moving product, which is good.
All right. So what are you going to do? What are you going to be spending your summer working on? Got any major projects, initiatives?
So training. I'll say training. So we moved. We have some new growers, some new department growers that started at the Virgil facility. There's some younger guys, some other people that have come on board, whether it's with the plant health team or inventory. So the training that was a little rushed along in the spring, we're going to go back and start kind of honing in on some of those skills and getting the basics down and make sure that those employees get what they need to succeed themselves. So
yeah, Midwest is a venerable, established, respected company, big company. Do they have a pretty good training program already in place? Videos, workbooks, systems, or do you have to kind of get in there and figure this out?
It's we have a kind of a plan that we follow, but every employee we get feedback on how did your training go, what would you change, and so for every person that comes on board, we tweak it just a little bit so that it's better each time. So constantly evolving.
Yeah. Well, that's the danger in this business is you're throwing people in head first in the height of spring, and then you forget their names, and they're out there working, representing your business. So at some point, you got to teach them how to do this. Quinten, how about you? What are you going to spend your summer working on?
I'm definitely going to try to do some relaxing. Busy spring, and we got a big fall shipping season coming up. So pretty much July and August, the majority of my work regards watering mums and caring for them. So that's pretty easy. I can kind of do that as an afterthought. But we like to fix up some equipment, maybe do some painting, clean up around the greenhouse, just odds and ends. But the main concern is making sure those mums are growing nice and trying to enjoy the summer a little bit before you get into the 24/7 shipping season.
Yeah, that's smart. If you're not taking care of yourself, eventually you will burn out. We don't want you to burn out at like 25 years old. That's way too soon. I mean, you're 23 and you're a vice president, for Pete's sake. I mean, the pressure's got to be incredible. Erika, how about you? What are you going to be doing this summer? Learning the head grower job, maybe, huh?
Well, for one, yes, and really trying to hone in on my metrics that I'm trying to set for my employees, and then also our most recent facility that we acquired. We have a propagation department over there that I'm also trying to run, and they are used to doing, or the workers that were there are used to doing things a lot different than we're doing here. So I'm gonna try and train them and kind of get them used to doing things the way we do it, and trying to get them to work a little bit faster and getting those metrics from them also.
So this business had a propagation team that you've now inherited, and you've got to teach them the J Berry system. Is that kind of
right? Yes.
Wow, that's an extra challenge compared to just hiring somebody off the street and teaching them propagation. You've got to unlearn them from all those bad habits.
Yes, and we've already been working on it for a few months, and they are definitely getting better, but we still have a long way to go.
Yeah, I mean, we'll get more into it with the labor side. Well, yeah, I want to save that because I'm real curious what your strategy is for working with people's, the psychology of employees and motivation and stuff. But save that. Think about that. What I do want to know, Erika, though, is what keeps you up at night? I want to get into a long list of different, topics, but I want to know what the most important one is for you.
Okay, the biggest one right now is probably labor. So last year, planning in who was coming in, and because we get H2A, we're working with 2 H2A companies, and we have those guys come in. I think this year we started in February. So we had certain groups come in, and then we increased the number. So now we are starting to slow back down, and we are needing to decide what we're going to do with. Do we have what we need, or do we need more guys? Do we need to let some go, or have them go back? But that is the biggest thing right now for me, and trying to manage all of those guys. I think we're getting 130 in every season. So having and being able to manage that is really, and planning that out in advance, especially coming up for next year. We're already starting to plan who we're going to need for next year and trying to create all of those schedules. So we're working with those companies, trying to decide, okay, we need X amount of number to come in early, and then we need a second amount to come in a little bit later, and trying to get all that sorted out now so that we don't have any issues later.
Yeah. I would imagine, though, that H2A workers want to work, number one.
Yes, definitely.
They understand and want, and in fact enjoy working agriculture, horticulture. Yeah? Is that a safe assumption? Yes. So they know what to expect? That seems like the biggest battle of all right there. You're not having to hire somebody out of a newspaper ad and first hope they show up, and second hope they stay through lunch. So it seems to be an advantage to know that at least this crew I've got coming in on the bus today are going to be ready to go and hard workers. Right. Yeah?
Yep. Right. And we haven't had any issues with them. It's really, they're here to work, and they love it. They don't complain, and they like the work. So that's been a huge help.
There's a lot for H2A right there. How about you, Mike? I want to hear labor now, and then we'll find out what keeps you up at night, unless labor is what keeps you up at night.
No. So as far as labor goes, we also made the switch three years ago to an H2A program, and it's been night and day. It was night and day. The quality improved because we were able to get pruning, spacing, whatever the plants needed done on time. And it was like a revolving door before that of just people coming. You do all the paperwork, and then you know, you'd go back by lunchtime and you'd be like, where's this person? And well, they walked off the job. And it's like, okay. So I would say, you know, if a company's able to, and depending on their size, but to make the switch to H2A, and then now is kind of focusing on the supervisor level, the mid-level managers, those kinds of positions, that's seeming to be harder to fill at this point.
Can you promote someone through H2A up into those kind of positions, or no?
No, for us, we've moved them into more technical roles, you know, but not anything like supervisor or, at least for us, that's not where we're going with it. But putting them into more technical roles, like whether it's irrigation or something like that, but not the.
Okay, because I would think through H2A you can find some really talented, hardworking, smart people, and you want to, you know, reward them. But I don't know if H2A even allows that sort of thing. You know, they're pretty strict on the job description and things like that.
Right.
Plus, even getting them back next year, whether you can get them back or not. So,
yeah.
All right, we'll come back to what's keeping you up at night. Well, what does keep you up at night? I'm going to make a note of it, and then we'll get to that.
So I guess it's a personal issue, but I'm a perfectionist. And I got to learn to let go of that a little bit, but the production planning, did we pot enough of this? Do we have enough of that on the ground? And luckily I've been starting to be able to rely more on the growers that are under me to help me make those decisions. But I would say, did we do enough at the right time to get us through either the next season or the next upcoming year? So yeah.
All right. So being a perfectionist, it's a good thing. Could drive you crazy though. Quinten, what keeps you up at night?
Yeah, so what Erika and Mike touched on are what probably most growers worry about is your labor. That's what keeps me up at night a lot of times, just wondering, am I going to have enough people to do this? And is everybody going to show up tomorrow? And we got a busy day. Do we have enough people? And then, or sometimes, wow, we're not too busy today and we got a full crew coming in. What are we going to do with everybody? When someone comes in, I don't really like to send them home halfway through the day. A lot of people drive all the way to work. They want a full day's work, you know? So that keeps me up a lot at night. Usually I have a pretty good game plan the day before what I'm going to do the next day. But I won't touch on that too much since, you know, Erika and Mike went over that. The other thing that really keeps me up at night is deadlines, planting and shipping. You know, it's Labor Day and we've got 150,000 mums to ship, and in 3 weeks they're going to be gone. That's a lot of mums to put on trucks, and that requires a lot of people, that requires a lot of moving parts. You know, when you're planting the crop, oh, hey, we're already 2 days behind, and if we get this planted, we're going to be 2 days behind on the next thing. So now we got to catch up. So I find that I probably stress a little bit too much about getting everything in on time and done on time. But it's probably a good thing because it's kind of like a fire underneath me that keeps me going. And it's, you know, you look back at the notes from last year and you say, wow, we planted this 2 days earlier last year. But you got to look at your notes for a couple years because you might have had something going on that year, or maybe had rain in the forecast or whatever. And hey, we planted that early because we needed to, just for that given year. So, you know, you don't want to keep getting early and earlier and earlier because you look at your year's prior notes. So, you know, that's really what keeps me up is the deadlines and trying to make sure everything's on time and done right and proper.
Yeah, the plants won't wait. That's for sure.
And a day or two makes a difference. A week in growing, it's amazing. Especially the last week of the growing cycle. Like people come in, like my customers will come in on the end of April and they'll be like, hey, are those hanging baskets going to be ready? You know, they're not looking too big right now. Well, you know what? I don't go to the baker and say, hey, that cake that's, you know, liquid right now doesn't look like it's, you know, is that going to be ready? You know, let me do my job. And, you know, that's the amazing thing about growing in a greenhouse is there's a big difference between being a week early and a week late. You know, you don't have a lot of, when that product's ready, it's got to go, you know, and we usually in the spring, we err on having it a little bit smaller than bigger, right at the very beginning, because it only takes a couple days and it fills out. And if you have a bad storm and the phones aren't ringing, it's really hard to hang on to all that stuff and keep it looking nice, you know? So those are big things you worry about a lot.
course, the thing about cake is you can eat it if it doesn't sell. That's another
Yeah.
matter. Scott had a question, actually kind of two questions, related questions about automation. If we're talking about employees being hard to find, how important is automation in your business nowadays? And he also would like to know what types of automation are you using? You got 150,000, 130, 150,000 mums out in 3 weeks. How many people does it take, or how many conveyor belts?
Yeah, it takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of planning. It takes a lot of people. There's automation comes in a lot of different forms. And as a young grower, I look to older, successful people in the business and look at what they do. You mentioned them earlier. I think before we started, when we were practicing, was the Van Weerdens, the biggest family in the business, right? One of their main mottos, or what you hear them say all the time, is automate or stagnate, right? Mm-hmm. So you always have to be working towards that. And sometimes automation comes in a really small form. A couple big things just for the moms individually that we've automated with was drip tape. We're able to ship twice as fast than regular old chaping tubes. And just maybe we've started putting cart tickets on all the carts, so now everybody knows what's going on. That's something I think the whole industry has moved towards. And sometimes it's just as simple as just getting a forklift. We used to load all our trucks with lift gates. We'd have 2 guys pushing the carts through gravel or grass, and it'd take 20, 30 minutes to load a truck. Now we have them staged out, and we get a forklift, and you load the truck in 5 minutes with a forklift. So it's definitely important to always try to automate. It comes in it doesn't have to be a big fancy machine that does it itself, but it's, how can we do this more efficiently? How can we save time? How can we be easier on our crew and not make them work smarter and not harder?
Yeah. Are you using any software for your production planning? Any automation of that the planning process?
We haven't gotten into a lot of that type of automation. We're still doing a lot of the orders with spreadsheets and by hand. So not too much in that area. We still kind of have our fingers on it where we can do all that. So yeah, we haven't really put together too many software programs where you can, have a live availability. The majority of our crop is sold when we plant it. So that's why we don't worry about the availability as much. It definitely takes sales away from us, because garden centers love being able to just, hey, I'm going to go on their website and I'm going to know exactly what they have. I'm going to put their order in. I'm still talking to a lot of my clients daily when we're shipping and saying, I've got this available, I've got that available. So we're relatively small as when, compared to the businesses that Mike and Erika work for. But we're not trying to be a mega grower or, keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger and put up greenhouses every year. We're very comfortable with where we're at. And actually, when my mom and dad started the business, a person that really mentored them a lot told them, get to a point where you two can handle it and you two can be profitable. There's a very defined bell curve to profitability. And a lot of business people will tell you that. The bigger you get, the more trucks you need, the more raw materials you need, the more supplies, more people, everything like that. So we're just trying to kind of keep it in a place where we can be very self-sustainable. We don't have to worry about if we lose an order, we can pick up another order really easy. So, we're very comfortable with where we're at, and we're just trying to, improve our efficiency where we are. And then the other thing with our succession plan is my parents are in their 50s. They're not wanting to work for 20 more years. So we need to look at, do we need to get it to a point where I can run the business by myself, or do we need to look at hiring a grower or someone who can manage the business, who has experience with it and can fill those shoes,
There you go. You're not married yet, Quinten?
No, not yet. I'm not in a real big hurry. I've been in a relationship with my girlfriend Morgan for 3 years, so she brings that up a lot. But
I trust she likes. Does she like the business?
Yeah, she likes it. She likes being around the greenhouses and the flowers.
Good. See, I'm thinking finding other ways to help out the labor force there.
Yeah.
Before you start having kids. Anyway, Mike, how about you in automation to ease the labor situation at Midwest?
Well, so I think Quentin's right on that. Like, you look for the small things. One of the small things we saw was the hedge trimmers that we use to prune like our liners and plugs with. You added a piece of steel flashing, so all the plant debris would get caught on it. You don't have to rake it up. But some of the bigger initiatives for us in two of our new growing centers, we've put in Argus to each one of the growing shelters to automate the irrigation, and not necessarily to take away jobs, but if the grower can spend more time, or the assistant grower, area grower can spend more time scouting the crop and creating a schedule with the irrigation, instead of having their whole day focused on trying to kick open and close ball valves all day. They got more time with eyes on the plants, instead of trying to run from one side to the other, back and forth. So that's been huge for us. Right now, we're still using the piecework system for potting, which is very efficient. But as labor gets more expensive, and there's just less and less people that actually want to do piecework all day, we've been looking into a potting line, and so that'll be a big shift for us. But we're not quite there yet, but we're still investigating. So
yeah, I think those can be successful. The big ones with the scoreboards on them that keep track of every planter's score. Nobody wants to be on the bottom.
No, metrics.
I've heard those can double your output just from people seeing who's fast and who's slow, and it's another way to pay bonuses for hitting goals and things. So, Erika, how about you?
Like Mike said, the biggest one we did right now is we're starting to automate all of our irrigation system. So now we're able to either schedule them out and set the schedule, or just turn them on from our phones. So that is the biggest one we have right now, but we do have a potting line. So that has kept our numbers up. And like the trimming that Mike was also talking about, we were using hedge trimmers, but now we're using one that rows over the crops, and then all the debris comes into a bag, so we don't even have to pick it up. So that one definitely made a huge difference. But just overall for shipping, we're using belts, and then we just roll the carts onto the truck, so we don't have to use a forklift or anything. So it's very easy. So we have just little things just across the whole nursery that just helps out.
I think that works out well. And one thing I've noted after all my years is it's usually automation is not for replacing people. It's for using your people more efficiently, and also for making their life a little easier, and then they're more engaged, more content with the job. They can
right. I had some people doing some other jobs that were just not necessary, and once we took that away from them, we found out they had a great mind, and they were able to do a lot more for us, and they were just better in that position.
All right. Now you have to have people. So what I want to know is, if you're not able to do, or not doing an H2A program, what are the secrets to finding good people? Do you have any tricks or tips?
I think the biggest one right now is taking a chance in young people. I feel like as an industry right now, we see all of these new generations, and we see that sometimes they're like, oh, they don't want to put in the work for a lot of it. So we need to find those, I guess, gems in the bunch, and being able to put some trust in there, and maybe invest some time to be able to find those people, because I think that's the biggest thing, honestly.
You think millennials are getting a bad rap out there? A few bad ones who
That's
are playing
what
video
I've
games in
been
the basement.
hearing,
They're
honestly.
not all like that?
I do not like that. It's been horrible. Every time I hear it, it's like, no, this is not who I am.
You are counter to all of those misconceptions. Yeah, that's a very good point. Quinten, you're the youngest one out there, 23. I don't even know if you're younger than a millennial. I don't know if are you.
It depends on the definition, because I've seen it where it's right on the border of 98. So sometimes some people call me a millennial and sometimes they don't, but
the next one is Generation Alpha, I think.
I'm not even,
whatever that is.
I don't keep up with all that.
It doesn't matter. But what is the key to finding good employees who want to work? You got any tricks?
That's a tough one. That's something everybody deals with. That's a good question. One thing that we do a lot is we advertise on Facebook. Everybody's on Facebook. So that helps a lot. This year, one thing that we've never had to do is we've got a help wanted sign out, and that thing has stayed out and it's not coming down. It's on a busy road, so we do get a few good people off of that. Like, we found good workers off that sign. And that's really old school, that's not new innovation or anything. The other thing that I do when I need peak season, when I need people, I go and I call up the high school and I say, hey, put an ad out. Anybody who wants to work after school from 3 to 7 o'clock, tell them to come out and we'll pay them. Easy work. We just really need people just to carry plants, And, one time, it's actually funny. One time we did that and it looked like there's like 20 kids that just all came walking in at 3 o'clock one time. And I'm on the forklift driving, trying to get all the mums out and everything. And I'm like, holy smokes, what did we just do? We gotta get all these kids to work. But, a lot of them don't last too long, but a lot of them are good workers, and it's a great opportunity for young kids to learn what it's like to work hard and earn your money, get the value of $1. I joke around and tell a lot of kids, like, hey, you're going to work here and it's going to make that decision to go to college that much easier. So that's one thing we rely on a lot on is teenagers. They do great. A lot of them are willing to help out and they want to get that extra spending money. And then we have tried some temp agencies. We haven't had the best luck with the temp agencies, but we have found a couple of very good people through there. But it's really those 3-4 weeks of shipping where you really struggle for the people. And I think if it wasn't such a seasonal job, the labor would be so much easier. But it's, hey, come work for me for 4 weeks and work 60 hours a week. And then, 8 weeks from now, I'm not gonna have a job for you. That's the hardest part about it.
All right, Mike, anything to add about non-H2A labor and where do you find them? And especially, how do you keep people motivated?
So internships is a good way for us to get people in the door and interested. And it's kind of like a trial run in a way too. Not only for us, but to see if they like the job as well. For a while there before H2A, we were doing Indeed.com ads as well. And I think when people come in the door, just being open to, their interest. If they're interested in plants and horticulture and a change of a career path, I've got 2 people that work for me that were in the restaurant industry, just got burned out by it. So they didn't know much about growing plants, but they're used to a fast-paced environment. They're used to hot work conditions, management, and they've done very well. So I think job crafting in a way and seeing what other skills people have and bringing them in, and how can they fit into the whole regime. But as far as motivating people, I like to try and show them that I'm willing to do the work too. And I think also giving them a good onboarding experience is huge to that. Like those employees I was talking about that kind of got left in the spring for a little bit, I need to make sure I get back to them so they don't feel lost and start to get disengaged.
Yeah, what does good onboarding look like to you?
I think really the big thing is how their role and who they are fits into the company and how important their role is to the success of the overall part of it. And it could be the smallest thing of again, watering the plants so that the sales team can actually make a sale. But yeah, so I also think another big part is being honest about mistakes. So that myself as a manager, I show them that, yeah, I make mistakes too, and be honest about it. And So they're comfortable with themselves and admitting when where their faults are and being open about where they need more training as they move forward in their career.
All right. New topic. Earlier on, Quinten brought up rising input costs. Supply chain issues and the rising costs are tied to that. How have you dealt this season, Erika, with the continued raise and the increase in the price of all your inputs? And what's that look like on the cost on the price side at J. Berry?
So since we've seen a lot of those rises just across the board on inputs, we've been trying to really hone in on our efficiency just across all departments. So for shipping, can we get it done more easily and faster? Just our growing in general, like the trimming or spacing, all of that. For propagation, how can we get those cuttings stuck faster or processed faster? It's just those really little things across the board, like also the automation of the irrigation system that also plays into it, is just cutting costs across the board and being more efficient in everything we're doing. So yeah, the cost is increasing, but we're accommodating all of our other costs, labor costs really, and getting better at it.
Have you been able to raise prices, or because you're a young plant supplier, is that area of the business more price sensitive? Is it harder to raise prices on something that doesn't cost that much to begin with? 50 cents or
Well,
$75 or $1.
We're primarily not a liner producer.
No?
No. So it's a small, very, very, very small percentage. So it was not a big impact on that sense, but for the majority of it, we are branded shrubs. So I feel like our cost was already up there.
So finished plants.
Yeah, finished plants.
Yeah.
So when we did that increase, we did not see a huge difference within it. So I don't think raising the price really affected us dramatically. It was there and it did affect us, but it was not something major.
So you're saying you raised prices and nobody no customer was bothered by it?
Well, yes, they were. I mean, that's definitely not ideal, but we were able to work with it, and we were still able to make our sales and get product out the door effectively. But we did not. I feel like our quality is good, and it's only getting better to where our customers see that, and they still want our products.
Is that a key to being able to raise prices?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Quinten, how about you? What are some keys? You have to ask for price increases. I mean, no matter what, we have to have them all the time. What are the keys to getting them?
Well, the one thing that I kind of wanted to touch on was, being that this year was so difficult, with one of the first questions you asked, what was the most difficult thing? I was talking about supply chain, how hard it is to get these products, how all the suppliers are just, hey, pricing can change. We're not giving you a firm quote. One thing that really helped, because this year we had so many new added difficulties, one thing that really helped and stuck out to me was how easygoing the customers were. I remember times where we were just so picky about what we shipped, and you can't send this, and it gets sent back, and you can't raise your price 2%, and the customer flips the lid on you and says, I'm not buying that then. Or, oh, I can get that out of Michigan cheaper. And I remember my dad saying so many times, like, hey, if someone wants to grow that cheaper than we're growing that for them, I'll take my hat off to them, and you should get that. Because, at the end of the day, we're just here trying to make a living. We're working hard. We're not getting rich. We're doing well, but we're not gouging like some people are right now. So that's one thing that I will say is the clients were very easygoing this year, more than usual. And that really took that stressor away. And I was able to focus on the other stressors that were new with this year. I try to do small increments. We've learned that if you raise your price 1 or 2% every year, even on a year where you don't need to raise the price, when all of a sudden you have a few increases and you need to go up 5%, and you haven't raised your price in 3 years, people don't look at it as that. They say, wow, you're going up 5% this year. You know, so we try to stay with a consistent, hey, we got to raise it 1%, you know, a couple pennies, something that's not noticeable, so that, you know, when it's been 3 years and we haven't raised our price and okay, now we got to go up 5%, you know, it's an easier conversation. So that's one thing that we learned, you know, in the last couple of years, because like I said, there was a year there where we hadn't raised our prices in like 5 years and we went up like 5%. And it was a really big deal. Obviously this year, nobody asked you about nobody was concerned about a 10% increase, because it was across the board with the industry. Every single person was right there. So it wasn't, you know, that was pretty easy this year. And I don't know if I will ever see a 10% increase in my life. I hope I don't. But that's just like unheard of. I think if someone told you when you were growing, hey, in 2020, 2021, 22, whatever, they're gonna raise their prices 20% in 2 years, 3 years. What would you have said, Chris? You know, that's unheard of. It's
one of the reasons I'm not a grower anymore.
Yeah.
I just have to write about it.
And then a lot of times I'll be looking back at you know, the price list from 1990 or whatever, and you look at it and you're like, wow, you know, it doesn't seem, you know, it's far away, but you know, it's not that big of a difference, you know. So you look at where we've been overall on average the last 30 years, and you know, we keep a good price and we try to keep it, you know, affordable to the customers. And we think about, if we sell this for this guy's got to get that for it. And is that worth it, you know, as a wholesaler? So, you know, that was a definitely interesting topic this year, was price increases.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you that in 1985, I could get $4 for a 6-inch pot mum, or pot mum and poinsettia. So there you go. Mike, How about you? Price increases at Midwest ground cover. I shop at Midwest's retail pickup area now and again, and I can tell you, you are not the low-cost provider to the western suburbs of Chicago.
No. But you know, I do think us as an industry, we're very humble about the product we grow. You know, we do grow a luxury item for people, and I think we as an industry need to place the value that goes into all the inputs that go into these products, and the time and the effort to produce a high quality product. You know, I see I think the rest of us that are buying stuff out see price increases on everything else, and you know, whether it's an iPhone or whatever it may be, you know, and people don't really balk at those prices. So why should our plants have to bear the burden of that? So I think it is just placing a high value on what we do.
Right. Okay. Good point. I'm looking at the clock now. We've got about 7 minutes left or thereabouts. So I want to focus on just a few last topics. First off, let's start. Erika, any new crops or new varieties that you're growing that have you excited? Folks are always looking for something new to grow. What should they be growing?
Yes, actually, we have quite a few. We have a hibiscus that's coming out this next year. It's called American Sweetheart, and it was at a trials at the University of Georgia, and it actually placed within top 5 with producers and consumers.
That's a tropical hibiscus, right?
Yes, tropical hibiscus.
Cool.
And so we're pretty excited about that one. And then we also have Vitex coming out. It's called Busy Bee, and it's really easy to grow, flowers all summer. So we're pretty excited about that one. And then we have a couple of Black Diamond Crepe Myrtles, which is our line. And we have a white one called Crystalline and a pink one called Pava Pink, which we're pretty excited about also. And some new hydrangeas that we're kicking off next year. So actually this year. But those are some of our new stuff that we're pretty excited about.
All right, get your orders in early. Give Jay Brayer a chance for a little commercial there. Quinten, what about you? You got anything new in the greenhouse that has you excited?
So we've got a couple different things that I want to touch on. One of the first things, the biggest trial that we do, the thing that we're most known for is our mums. Obviously, I've talked about mums many times in this podcast alone. We do a big mum trial. We actually have done a trial for Ball for many years. And we have grown just about every single commercial mum variety. There's years where we have a couple thousand plants in our trial. There's years like the last couple years we haven't done as big of a trial because we have so many orders. We kind of pushing that to the side for a couple years just so we don't have to put out more production. But one thing that we do is we call it the Henning Chicago Landscape Series. And it's basically geared toward landscapers because there are the majority of our business. And we have an early season and a late season. So, early we call like September 20th about, and then late season would be right towards the end of September, early October. And we have, all of your colors, your red, your white, your bronze, purple, yellow. And we take those, the names of the varieties that we pick, and we put Henning's Early Red on it, because for a long time we were saying, hey, this Radiant Red or Eternal Red is our variety that we pick. And then all of a sudden it seems like that variety starts popping up all around Chicago, not saying that that's what's happening, but it's a value that we're trying to add to our business by saying, hey, we do the trialing. You don't have to go and find out what the best variety mum is. We're going to have the best variety mum. All you got to tell me is what color you want and what time of the year you want it.
That's a good point. Yeah, sometimes it's not about what's new; it's what's best for your customers. Yep. Yeah.
And then, really quick, the other two things that we've been doing a lot is we're trying to get into heat lover items in the spring. We want items that are easy to take care of. Angelonia, Scabola, Lantana, stuff like these baskets behind me. Those are real flashy, but if you don't have a green thumb and you're not taking care of them, you forget about them once and they're done. A Lantana, you can wilt it down a little bit; it'll come back and look nice. So we're going towards that, more consumer friendly. And then the other thing that's not a crop or a variety that I'm very excited about is the biological controls. We have had 2 of our best years with drip pressure, and it's mainly due to biologicals. I've got that program pretty well figured out. The last 3 or 4 years has been a big adjustment, getting used to using beneficial insects and chemistry that is friendly with them. That's the biggest thing, is getting to those and seeing where they are more efficient and they have more advantage, and using them to the way they work and being ahead of it, and being able to tell people, hey, we're cutting down on our pesticides. I'm not having to, it's good for the environment, it's good for your plants, it's good when you come in here and you take these plants home and you're touching them. There's not as much harsh chemicals being applied to them. And the biologicals, if you use them right, it's better than any chemistry. If you use them right, it's really good control. And like my dad's just amazed at how our drip pressure is, because we've been doing a great job with it. And it's largely part to using beneficials to their best ability.
We could do a whole webinar just on that one. Well, I may be in touch, Quinten. That could be good. All right, let's wrap up with some of the questions from our audience. Don't have to get everybody's input in it, but Janine wants to know if someone was interested in learning how to get into this industry, can you recommend an online program? And I know that the University of Florida does some online training, sort of greenhouse 101, grower 101 kinds of things. There may be a few others out there. How would somebody go about learning how to get into this business?
My personal opinion on the matter is that it's not necessarily online or something you have to do, but I guarantee wherever you live, there's probably a greenhouse or a nursery or a garden center very close by. And the best way to learn is to go to other greenhouses, talk to growers. If you go in and say, hey, I'm interested in this business, I want to learn how to do this business and I want to work, everybody needs workers. So they're going to take you and they're going to train you, and they'll probably teach you. And the best way to learn is by people who've done it for years.
Yeah, that's a good point. Now you have to go do some hot, sweaty work in the greenhouse before you get to carry a clipboard and name yourself a manager. But that's part of the game, right?
Learn quick if you apply yourself.
Yeah. All right. Now, how do you keep your own ongoing learning updated? Erika, what do you do to keep yourself educated and up to date?
Well, we have actually classes that we have for the employees and just for everyone who wants in general. We'll bring professors or people, professionals in the industry to come in and just teach on a certain topic, or if there's any concerns that the employees are having, say a certain pest or something, we'll bring in someone who's an expert in that, and we'll have a class, and we'll have the people who are responsible for those areas and those classes, and I'm in some of those sometimes. So that's one. And then also definitely going out and seeing other nurseries and seeing what is being done at other locations, and being able to bring that knowledge that you find over there and implement it in what we're doing here. So
right. And certainly you'll all three be at Cultivate this year.
Right.
Walking the trade show and attending sessions. Mike, how about you? What is your motivation for success? What gets you out of bed in the morning? Keeps you going there at Midwest?
I think Midwest has done a good job with helping create a career path and growth. And so I think having those types of things laid out for employees is really a really strong, a really good way, I guess, for employees to stay motivated and want to succeed, is helping them see a path to the future.
All right. Last question, but this is a big one. I'm going to give this one to each of you. We'll start with you, Quinten, and that is, because I think you actually brought it up about, we've had 2 really phenomenal years behind us, and 2019 wasn't terrible, but people expect things might soften considerably. They're even talking about recession. So maybe, what if we go into a big downturn? What are you thinking about 2023, 2024, and whether it's not as good as the past couple of years? And how do you approach that? And this question is specifically for a sales team. Who is responsible for selling the plants, especially if sales are soft but prices are high? How do you approach that? Real quick.
One thing that's really important is to always look at your average. Look at the last 3 years. It's important to never have like a knee-jerk reaction. Last fall, I had people calling me up. Now, I normally sell my mums between $4 and $5 for the 1.5 gallon size. I had people calling me up saying, "Hey, I'm going to come buy a truckload of mums, and I'll give you $7 a piece, and I will pick them up." And as awesome as that sounds, I can't do that because I got to take care of my customers. I don't have the availability. So if that guy called 4 other growers and told all those 4 growers he needs 2,000 mums, and 4 other growers grows those 2,000 mums because they think they can sell them. Now there's 8,000 extra mums out there, and now it's a slow year. So a lot of times when we have that great years, we are only trying, we're not going to increase based on all the orders that we could have had. We're going to look at our last 3-4 years and look at the average, and then maybe go up on that average 4 or 5%. Luckily, when we've had those last 2 or 3 really good years, we've been able to add some savings, become a little bit stronger. We came off of a couple tough years in 16, 15. We went through a bankruptcy with one of our big clients. So that was really hard to come out of. So it was refreshing having a couple of really good years. We were able to get back stronger, have some more savings built up. If we have a really bad catastrophe or a bad thing happen, we'll be able to get out of it. So it's being strong, working on an average, not trying
taking the long view.
Yep.
It sounds like.
Yep.
Not reacting to ups and downs and things like that.
Yep.
Erika, how about you? Real quick. How do you, if things soften going into 2023? What are you going to do at J. Berry?
I think right now, and we're already trying to do that, and we're trying to hone in on the forecast for our next 2 years and really nail it down, getting our numbers right, especially if we'll have any carryover, if at all, and trying to not overdo it, and trying to get that number just right to where if it does slow down dramatically, we're prepared and we won't have that surplus.
All right. And Mike, I'll let you finish up there.
Yeah, I think one of the things is really focusing on the fundamentals to help reduce waste and loss, because the loss is one of the biggest, just throwing it away doesn't make any sense. But then I think with forecasting, things like the evergreens, junipers, boxwoods, maybe pulling back on those numbers a little bit and staying steady with the things that move quick and sell and are hot in the market right now. So.
Yeah, and we kind of brought this up before during our little rehearsal area, and I said, we've been through tough times. We went through 2006, 2008, that dark time. We've been through 9/11. We've said we're recession-proof, so we shouldn't be scared of a recession. Maybe then again, we didn't have $6 gasoline during the recession, and the supply chain issues. So it's all an adventure, and we are glad that you three young grower finalists are in the industry helping us out. We could go on for another hour very easily, but
Yeah.
I bumped up against the time, as I always do. Let me do one last bit of housekeeping here, and that is I want to, again, thank our sponsors, Ball Horticultural Company and American Hort. What's going to happen next for these young finalists? They're going to be our guests at Cultivate, as a matter of fact, where they're going to have a festive dinner with me and my other editors and some of our notable judges, including Anna Ball. And then we're going to head to American Hort's Unplugged event, where we will announce the winner of the Young Grower Award. And that lucky person, not so lucky, that deserving person will be featured on the cover of the September GrowerTalks magazine. If you want to watch this again or share it with friends or colleagues or pull out a few points, I know Jen Zerko is going to do that. Go to www.growertalks.com/webinars. And tomorrow, same time, same place, different link, we will do the same thing with our young retailer finalist. Jen Palans will be asking the tough questions of them. So let me stop. Why does my mouse always disappear when I'm doing this? You ever notice that? Your cursor, there it is. Cursor goes away. Let me wrap up here by saying thank you to our three young grower finalists. Look forward to seeing you in Ohio, Columbus, Ohio, next month. Be there. We're going to have a good dinner together, and then we'll present the awards. On behalf of Erika and Quinten and Mike, and on behalf of my stellar Ball Publishing staff who work hard, so I don't have to, I'm Chris Beatties saying so long, everybody. Zoom wave.
Yep. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.